rocking. I try to let a few doors walk, but if that freezer runs low, I gotta stock it. These scrub bucks got no mask, darn sure no drop times, but this chili has deer burger in it tonight.
Where did this podcast go? Straight to hell. Yeah, speaking of hell, check out East Coast Bowhunting Podcast.
Fantastic thing.
First of all, I'm addicted to the show.
I like that. That's cool. Okay.
Whole boar hunt, you live it, you breathe it. It's a whole different world.
This East Coast has a little bit more of an edge and a grind.
People possible in the industry, and the point where it is now where it's insane.
There's nothing forced, it's all fucking natural.
That's tasty. This is the East Coast Bowhunting Podcast. We drink beer, we talk deer, and we fucking cuss a lot. So if you don't like any of this, I suggest you find another show. But if you like what you hear, please take a seat, crack a beer, and lend me your ear. I'm D-Rock, here with
Trev, Ryan,
and we're broadcasting in front of a live audience here at Shebeen Brewing Company in Wolcott, Connecticut, hiding in the mountains of God's heaven. Today's episode is brought to you by Shebeen Brewing, fresh beer crafted in Connecticut, the Hunter's Beer, at www.shebeenbrewing.com. 100 Demons, East Coast hardcore music known worldwide, at www.shopshogun.com. Trev's Euros, for all your Euromount needs on Facebook. CT Bowhunting, CT's #1 source for bow hunters. Download their app for free to experience a judge-free social platform. Nor'easter Game Calls, get them in close for all your game call needs. Get your East Coast Bow Hunter Blood Series grunt call at www.nor'eastergamecalls.com. This show is presented by Working Class Bow Hunter. Not just a podcast, but the brand in the hunting industry. We are here as always for new and old hunters by sharing our experiences in the woods through playing and slaying. What's up?
What's up, D-Rock?
What's going on?
D-Rock, what's happening?
Shit, what's happening is we're here at Shebeen Brewing with Richard Visco and Luis Vega, and I think we're going to have a badass time tonight. What do you think?
Hell yeah.
What's up, Rich?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Speaking to that mic, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Is that loud enough now?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect.
What's going on, Lou?
Doing well.
Hell
How's
yeah.
everything?
Let's get a little salud. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Shebeen.
It's a good time to crack open my beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shebeen.
Shebeen. There's never a bad time to crack your Shebeen.
The funny part is we got a couple cases behind us called crackers. We're just going to be cracking them all night.
We're just going to crack beers.
So, for our listeners out there, I think we're up to what? Maybe 202 now?
202? We're more than that.
No, I'm just being humble. I mean, and we love our listeners and all the supporters out there. First time broadcast in front of live audience. We got people peeping through the windows, people whispering behind us, all kinds of nonsense going around, plus Shebeen beer.
Somebody brought Caddy Cowboy down here.
Who the hell brought Caddy Cowboy? Look at him.
Caddy Cowboy in the house.
What a good-looking fella. I'd do him.
On that note, Caddy Cowboy took an Uber an hour and a half to get here. That's dedication.
That's commitment.
Impressive. Yeah.
That's commitment. So let's start off right off the rip and cut into it. Richard Visco, owner of Shebeen Brewing. Who are you? Where are you from? And how can we find you?
How much time do we have?
We have all night.
Well, I'm originally from Northern Ireland, so the name of Shebeen is an Irish Gaelic name, and it means an illegal brew house. So that's why and where that all came from. So I've moved around a lot, eventually settled in Connecticut, and we opened up Shebeen about 6 years ago, and we've had a lot of fun along the way. So, yeah. I found this guy to my right, several years ago. That's our head brewer, Lou.
Awesome. Cheers. Luis Vega, tell us who you are, where you're from, and why you're here.
Kind of really quickly, grew up mainly in Bridgeport, CT. Just kind of meandering throughout life, became a vet tech for a little while, started feeling a bit burnt out doing that sort of thing. Ended up putting a note in the front door over here of Shebeen Brewing 4 years ago, I think it was. And thankfully these guys called me back. I started learning, kept going, and then eventually Rich called me up, offered me the position to start brewing, and the rest is history. Here we are.
Awesome.
And the funny part is I never respond to anything. So the fact that he did it with a note in the door.
Yeah. Right, old school.
We actually called him back. And, got him into sales and then, trained him to become our head brewer. It's pretty amazing. It's a good story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like really going from just being a home brewer and just trying to adamantly tell somebody I really want to do this for a living, not really knowing if it was a real job.
Yeah.
Like when I first came up in conversation with my brother, it was a joke. I didn't think it was a job.
Any job for a Latino American is a joke at first, yeah. We just want to make a freaking dollar.
It's a good point.
Oh, man. That's crazy. So before we cut into it too deep, I want to really start transitioning to every episode we've been doing the Whitetail Forecast, and Ryan Pornstar, which is to my right here at the brewery, we're going to transition to something a little new. Hopefully he could bring something new to the table.
Thanks for the introduction there, D-Rock. So with the end of the season upon us, we're going to be switching from the Whitetail Forecast to the Whitetail News. This week's Whitetail News is going to be nice and simple for you guys. It's getting out there and getting those early drop sheds. This year's rut was very tough on our bucks. The testosterone levels really dropped, so they're actually starting to drop those antlers early. Now, of course, the majority of your deer still haven't dropped them, but for those of you eager to get out in those woods, put some miles on your feet, find those early drop sheds, whether it be that trophy buck you never got or just that new buck that you never saw coming through. Those sheds may be out there. So put some miles on, try and find those sheds in there.
That's all we got?
That's it, man.
Damn, nigga, I thought you had more.
We got a big episode today, so I'm cutting the news short here, but we got a lot of early sheds, so get out there and find them.
Hell yeah, I like it. Good job, man. So let's cut right back into it. Richard Visco, where did you get your passion for beer? When did that start?
Well, it actually started when I wasn't even 21 years old. It started back in the 80s. I started brewing at the University of Connecticut because I couldn't get access to beer, so I started making it myself at 19 years old. So,
makes sense.
And, kind of the rest is history. But there's a lot more involved in that. I was making beers way back then that you couldn't find in most places. I was making saisons and porters and stuff that, at that time in the 80s, there was a little bit of a craft beer boom, but certainly not what you see today.
Better than Bud Light, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple cool things way back then, but, and then, I ended up getting my master's, and I did a whole thesis on opening up a brewery back in the mid-90s, and so that was actually all my business plan, was to actually open up this brewery. So this brewery's been in planning since the late 80s, and it really kind of took hold in the 90s. And so, this has been a long time coming. So it's been interesting to be able to see this and kind of pull it off. So,
and watching it evolve.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, we've changed quite a bit, too. Anybody that thinks they know what the brewery was like 6 years ago and you see it now, you can see the transition dramatically. And you can even just see it physically in the building itself. I have people that haven't been here in maybe 3 or 4 or 6 months, and they come back in, and, what the heck happened? I came in here, and this wasn't there, and that wasn't there. We have another giant 30-barrel fermenter coming in a couple of weeks, and, Lou is looking at me with a lot of angry eyes at this point because I'm taking more space away from them, and we're literally to the point where everything is down to inches, and that's kind of the growth of the brewery. It's been kind of cool to see, so...
Hell yeah, at one point I'm looking at, see, let's take a moment to look around the room, actually. We got a lot going on. I mean, we have the Shebeen logo on the wall, a bunch of stickers from, I'm assuming, the wall of brewers.
That's from breweries all over the country. In fact, awesome. We recommend that people bring stickers in if they go and visit a brewery in Virginia or out in Colorado. bring it in here and throw it on our brewery wall. It's kind of cool. So it's a sticker wall. It's just fun as heck.
Hell yeah. You can let loose. You can say hell.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah.
This East Coast Bowhunting podcast.
Right,
you can say whatever you want.
All right, so which language? Is that? Any language in particular?
Any language.
All right,
Any
excellent.
language you want.
All right.
Pinche way.
Oh, Buck Mahone there.
So we got the wall of hops right behind you. And actually, during the summertime, you grow your own hops going right up the side of the building, no?
Yeah, we actually try to support as much Connecticut local stuff as we possibly can. We grow our own hops here. We actually support a lot of the farms in Connecticut as well. We use a lot of the grains that are made in Connecticut. We use a lot of the hops that are grown here. And, we've jumped into this ourselves and actually tried to grow some of the hops that we use physically at the brewery itself. Obviously, we don't have the same space, but, we have a batch that we do every year around August, September, and we use those, grown hops right here.
That's badass. I'm liking that. So what made
we even use Connecticut bacon?
Really?
Awesome.
Why don't we elaborate a little more on that, Lou?
That's serious.
Enlighten us.
Java Pig is a beer that we've been doing now.
Speaking to your mic there, Lou.
We've been doing Java Pig now for several years. Java Pig kind of holds a special place for me because it was the first commercial beer that I helped do anything with. So when I came in this building as a volunteer, the first beer that I helped out with was Java Pig. Now being the head brewer and being in sort of this position where I can manipulate these recipes. A while back ago, I went to Rich and I asked him, "What do you think if we do X, Y, and Z with Java Pig?"
Also, algebra's involved.
A little bit. Yeah.
You lost me.
It was one of those situations where I was still very, very green as far as my time as a brewer here. So I kind of saw the one eyebrow lift up a little bit, and it was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I explained to him what my thought process was, and he basically said to me, "You come up to me in a week with a concrete plan of what you want to do, and then we'll talk."
Oh yeah.
So I did. I talked to several different people, including Mr. Nodine, who was the original owner of Nodine Smokehouse. They are. He has since passed away, unfortunately. But I spoke to him, and I figured no one else is really going to know bacon like this man. How in the world do you use a product like bacon, real bacon, not bacon flavoring, bacon? How do you put that into a beer? Because anybody that's ever poured a soda too hard and put their finger in it to stop the bubbles knows that lipids stop your carbonation. They stop the head.
Yeah.
Anybody that's ever drank a stout knows that one of the nice things about a stout
Is the head.
Who
doesn't like a little head?
Right?
I'm saying.
I'm just saying. So how do you take a product like bacon, which is essentially a bunch of lipids, and put it into a beer that's supposed to have head?
That beer is lucky, if you ask me.
Well, I'll tell you the secret is actually when I used to make it, I'd eat half the bacon, so most of it didn't even make it into the beer.
So it didn't matter. It was only
didn't
half.
really matter, right? It never made it in.
I feel bad now because it actually takes me longer now to do the bacon than it does to make the beer. And these poor bastards out here in the tap room and stuff like that have to smell bacon, going and going for like really, it's literally about 3 weeks that these poor people are smelling bacon and they can't touch it. They touch a little bit of it.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
The ratio balances.
Oh, the ratio's not 50% anymore. It's a little bit less than that. But so we actually get it from Nodines, and we actually cure it and dry it. And there's a special procedure that Lou came up with that essentially gets rid of all those oils and then allows the bacon flavor to then get into the beer without bringing all the negatives and bringing all the oils and stuff that take away the head retention of the beer. So that's the long and the short story. I told it in about 10 seconds, and I think he has taken about 10 minutes on that one. So.
Lou just needs a little more tequila there. Hell yeah. Hey, actually, I wanted to transition to why the deer logo. Why the deer logo?
Well, that's a really good question, and when I was talking about the fact that I was from Northern Ireland, my mother's maiden name is McGettigan, and the McGettigan is actually the family crest is a stag. So what you're seeing is that giant shield and that giant deer is a stag. That's my family crest, and so that's how it all became the Shebeen logo and symbol. So,
dude,
Awesome.
if that's not the hunter's beer, I don't know what is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus.
Hell yeah.
That is badass. I love that story.
yeah, it's got the hunter's green in it as well too. So yeah, I mean,
Hunter green.
yeah, luckily I got it from my family. Actually, it's pretty cool. And so this is better than a bunch of little ducks running around or something.
I'd say so.
That part comes in handy.
Yes.
That's a undertone pun or jab at someone else.
What?
Here in Connecticut.
Oh, that never happened.
Yeah. You know who you are. Our beer's better. Sorry. Shebeen. So, transitioning from that is, when did you start? Like, for all our listeners, I know you said 6 years ago, but just so everyone's on the same page, when did you start this brewery, what I call the Sweat Lodge? Remember the Sweat Lodge, Rich?
Yeah, gosh, if you go back to our, Facebook post from back 2012, and you can see the building being built out, and we were sitting here with jackhammers and hammers and just knocking walls down. That was in December of 2012. We opened up to the public in May of 2013. So it took us a pretty quick amount of time in order to get the building at least in a functional state. But since then, it's taken us almost another full 6 years for it to even get to the part where you see it, today and now. So it's been a long journey, and it's definitely been an interesting journey. But there's been a lot involved in the building of this space, and it's changed quite a bit in that time period. But the funniest part is we are the strangest brewery on the planet in the fact that we're a brewery named after from an Irish name and derivation. We're known for the cannoli beer, which is Italian, and our anniversary is on Cinco de Mayo. So, and our head brewer is Costa Rican. So
Yeah, I figured that one out.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Some diversity in here.
Yeah.
We got a lot. Hey, it's not just white in here. We got little culture in the back. So
It's kind of nice whenever D-Rock is in the building, then the brownness is just built up by 2.
it levels up. I don't feel so little.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's always here.
Quite often.
Well, yeah. Well, Trev. Friday night is date night, so we're always
There
there.
you go.
You know what I mean? So, what gets you guys outdoors? Lou, go.
The outdoors.
Ooh, I like that.
Really, just like any excuse for myself, my wife. I've got 4-year-old twins. I am so happy that my kids will wake up and immediately start asking, can we go outside? Can we do a fire pit tonight? Can we go for a walk in the woods or whatever? Really just being outside is what makes me want to be outside.
And what do you do when you're out there?
Lately, especially now with the kids.
Is he allowed to say it when the kids are here or when the kids are not there?
when the kids are not there, what do you do when you're out there?
Yes, spill it, Lou.
Let's hear it,
There you
Lou.
go. Make love to that mic. Get up in there. Get up in there.
My wife's probably listening, so
She could be, but
It's okay. She might like the mic too.
She might be joining you out there as well, too. So.
no, it's once I found out, again, growing up in Bridgeport, it's not like we have a whole lot of woods in Bridgeport. Luckily, I did grow up in the north end of Bridgeport where there is a little bit of wood. So I did spend a lot of time checking out all kinds of whatever critter I could find and all that stuff, which was, you can imagine my poor mother. Anybody with a Latin American mother knows you bring home some sort of live critter, they're going to freak out.
Yeah.
So my dad was very oftentimes, that's great, Lou. Don't show your mother. Take that away. So off I would go, and that whole thing continued throughout my early adulthood and into my adulthood, into just adoring camping and just being outside, going, just walking through streams, rivers, looking at animal tracks and all that kind of stuff. Just digging it. I've never gone hunting. I've talked to D-Rock about this several times.
How many times I invite you?
Right. It's at least like a dozen times at this point,
Well, count me in when we're doing the helicopter
I'm doing
hunting.
The helicopter hogs.
Oh, yeah.
You hear that caddy cowboy?
I'm in.
You hear that caddy
Caddy
cowboy?
Cowboy knows all about that.
Is that heli?
Caddy Cowboy's gone.
Oh, there.
Outside.
Right
You heard
outside.
that?
They're outside.
He's outside.
They're probably
No, so-
smoking cigarettes.
Probably.
Yep, see him.
It could be cigarettes.
I need to do it. I need to go out there and experience what it is. I mean,
I'm about to follow these young ladies.
I'm coming up as a vet tech and all that stuff, and
they
as a
probably got
wildlife
that wacky
rehabilitator.
tobacco.
Look up at them too.
Yeah.
Going as a wildlife rehabber and doing vet tech work and all that stuff. All my experience has been fixing animals. That, however, does not mean that I don't find them tasty.
Exactly.
Yeah, but just think
tasty.
you can combine the fact that you shoot them and then go fix them.
I'd rather make a steak out of them.
My man. My man.
I was trying to get to your inner side there.
D-Rock came up recently. He came up to Rich's place. We had the 4th of July party up there, and
that was a blast, man.
That was an
house.
awesome time. It was like a great time hanging out on the lake and all that stuff. My only mistake was asking him for one piece of venison, because my son ate half of the venison on me. I barely got any damn venison, dude.
I always bring a big slab of backstrap.
Yeah.
Always. That and a salmon.
Oh, the
every
salmon
year.
was excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, so Aiden ate half of my venison, little bugger. He's probably listening right now, too.
I bet you're going to have to start hunting then. It sounds like.
I do. I need to, I need to take my own deer and, learn how to process it and all that other stuff, I'm all about it,
Hell yeah.
I should say I did kind of go hunting once, sort of.
Actually, before I want to come back to that. Because I know that story, and it's actually a very intriguing story. I want to switch over to Rich and stick on the beer subject, because I want to end with the hunting stories in whitetail, because we have a lot to talk about and we have all night to do it. What ingredients do you use in beer, and what don't you use?
That's a very good question.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't
because
it?
I think we're one of the only breweries. Well, we're probably one of the only breweries that will try just about everything. I don't think there's a single thing that we won't actually put in a beer. In fact, Lou's looking at me right now going, yeah, he's dead on right, because that man will shove anything into freaking beer.
Into beer.
Yeah.
The 4 main ingredients to beer obviously are going to be water, yeast, hops, malted grain of some sort.
And the 5th one is Nutella.
Yeah. So, here at Shebeen Brewing, the 5th element is whatever the heck else we feel like.
Yeah,
like bacon.
Like bacon.
Like bacon.
Yeah.
Again, it is an interesting thing. Is that I think one of the few breweries that have been able to figure out how to take ingredients that disparate and would never really be expected or work well in a beer, and we've made it work. We actually made a beer out of Nutella. And we made, obviously we've made beers with bacon and real bacon in it, not using extracts or flavors or any of that kind of stuff, and figuring out how to actually make it and have the head on it and have the carbonation in it. We actually made an oatmeal raisin cookie beer from scratch as well, too.
I saw that.
And it didn't come from any other flavors other than literally the same ingredients that you would actually bake a cookie with. And so we didn't take any shortcuts and crumble cookies in there or do anything like that. I literally said, okay, if I'm going to make a oatmeal raisin cookie, this is what I'm going to start with, and we're going to do that. And the funny thing is, we just seem to have a knack with that ability to take those ingredients and actually turn it into something. And the funny part is, they're all experiments. We do the thoughts in our head, and we do the scientific approach, and then we formulate it, and then we go make it. And believe it or not, 90% of the time, they actually come out right. That's what's so interesting and weird about it. Is we've had a couple of drain pours, but it doesn't happen that often. So
no, I mean I think with if you're gonna make beer, whether it be for fun or for a living, if you're afraid of screwing up and pouring a beer down the drain, you shouldn't be making beer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one that surprised us the most when we had a pear beer, and that is not. I don't even know that many people have actually made that kind of flavor before, and it turned out really well. Again, same thing. It's just a total experiment. Here's the idea, and let's go figure it out. Now, the hardest part is, again, Lou's looking at me. It's like I look at them and go, I need this, and find the ingredients now. So, because when I'm doing it on a pilot basis, I'm doing it on a small scale. It's like it's easy to find like a gallon or two of it. Now I'm telling them, well, get 50 gallons of that.
Yeah.
Go get a drum. Like the passion fruit one is this whole other scenario. So,
Were you here for that, D?
Of course I was. I'm here every step of the day.
the 500-pound drum, the 50-gallon drum of passion fruit that showed up frozen solid.
You guys were pissed.
Dude, that was insane. That thing came out of a truck like with like the dry ice steam thing that comes out and everything. It looked like a scene out of Back to the Future. And it was this giant drum of frozen passion fruit. A drum, like an oil drum.
You drop that on your foot, it would break your foot.
Yeah. So I called him up, and I'm like, dude, what the hell?
Or the other times where I'm like,
Shebeen.
Yeah.
I'm telling you here, I bought this hop. Now go do something with it.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, you look at the list in here. There's so many beers that I haven't even seen before. You got the Tiger's Eye, Stuck in a Roundabout, the cannoli. There's the oatmeal raisin. Leave it to Dennis. What's the flavor on that?
Dennis, where are you right now?
I never thought that Dennis would come up in a conversation of what's in Dennis. So.
I'm surprised he's not here.
Dennis is sick right now, so the
good.
essence of Dennis is actually usually in that. We have a very special relationship with our mug club and our fans. We actually not only listen to them, take their advice, but we'll actually brew with them as well too. We'll take them to the back, and they'll have an idea for a beer. It's like, okay, that's a great idea. You're now brewing with me today. And we'll help them formulate the recipe, and they'll go back and brew it. So Dennis is one of our great Mug Club fans, and he had this idea for an amber ale, and I said, okay, fine, you're going to brew it with me on a weekend, and they did it, and we give him credit, and he names it. So that's how it comes out. So
wow, that's great.
Don't be scared to get close to that mic too.
Yeah,
I can swallow it if you want me to.
No.
It's not that kind of party.
Eat the bunny.
I have extra talent.
You got Caddy Cowboy all excited out there.
Where is the cowboy?
You got to watch.
Crap! Creeping in
No. Ryan's giving him the googly eyes right now. Film later.
Yeah. No, really, Dennis is just a really awesome dude. Like he's around here all the time. He's a loyal dude. And the fact that I think at this point now we have a series of Dennis beers.
Yeah, the Suck It to Dennis. Suck It Dennis series.
Suck It Dennis. Now Leave It to Dennis. I mean, we're gonna have a whole bunch of Dennis beers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love that dude. I can't wait for it. Unfortunately, we always make fun of him, the poor little guy.
Well, I don't actually. He's always hugging on my girls. No, he's always hugging on my girls. Like, what the hell you doing?
Well, you should be.
It's Dennis. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
He secretly likes it. So.
Yeah. On a good note, and a positive note, I want to switch back to what you were saying earlier in your college days that you just wanted to make your own beer, right? What was your first craft beer versus what is your favorite now? And I want a question answer from both of you, please.
Okay, American craft beer way back in the days in the 80s would actually been Dock Street from Philadelphia. It was one of my favorites. Same thing with the original Harpoon. Not the Harpoon IPA, but the Harpoon Ale. Those are my two favorites growing up. My favorite non-American one is actually actually I'm drawing a blank on it right now, but Sam Smith's is actually Nut Brown Ale.
Oh, Nut Brown Ale, Sam Smith.
So it, as much as we are brewers and we will emulate the recipe to it, but it's such a special beer and the water profile that's going on there, and they do it in open fermenters as well too, and we can't actually replicate it here. So that is a beer that's just like stellar, and every time I see it, I will definitely order it. Yeah. But it's a very rare beer to even find in the first place because I like real ales as well. Yeah. So I'm like the antithesis of the New England IPAs. I like everything but the New England IPAs. So,
which is odd right now in the IPA movement.
Yeah, even though I like 99% of the beers that are made in the world, yet we happen to be in the epicenter of a style that is not my thing, and it's the oddest thing on the planet. So
the funny part is you're in my opinion, along with most, you're the highest contender to your biggest competitor on the IPAs, Seahag. Not to shout them out, but that's as far as I'll go. Seahag is up there.
Well, look, there are great breweries in the state of Connecticut, and there are great beers that they make, and we actually don't slag them at all. We actually, we learn from them because if they're making something that people are looking for, and this is the difference between what I like, because you're asking that question, and what we like to make as a brewery. And those are completely different things at times. And there are things that Lou likes to make. There's things that I like to make, and there's things Dennis likes to make as well too. And you know, we even if you like Bud Light or even those kind of like, you know, major mass-produced products, people like what they like, and it's way okay. And I know that sounds like a PC type of answer because there's things they slag me on that I like to drink. I like Coors Banquet beer, for God's sakes, and so I can drink that. I can drink that and mow a fucking lawn any day of the week. And I'll tell you, give me a 12-pack, sling it on my lawnmower, and I will mow your lawn for free. So
it's a good deer camp beer.
Oh hell yeah! No, I'd go hunting with that thing. I'd go kayaking with that thing. It's like that is the beer to take if you just want to just relax, not think a lot, and drink it. And sometimes people, that's what they want, and that's way okay.
Yeah, actually, I noticed when we walked in the fridge, there's actually Bud Light here. If you don't want to be adventurous.
Well, for the folks that don't,
and who yelled at you? Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt, Lou. Who yelled at you, Rich, for having that crap in here?
Everybody.
Okay.
And yet we sell several a week, and this is the ironically funny
well,
thing.
for the non-beer enthusiasts, I guess, yeah.
That's exactly what it's for. It's for there are some people that walk in here, and they're with, like, friends or family or whatever, and their friends or family are into craft beer, but maybe they are not. You know, and you're always going to have that one dude that's like, dude, I'm just not into all of this stuff. I just really want a Bud. And
so they're quivering.
Okay, dude.
In between the legs, they're quivering a little.
Yeah, but the same thing is,
I get it.
You know, I like my Coors. You know?
Yeah.
Right? Don't pick on me if I like my Coors. If I feel like a Coors motherfucker, I'm going to have my Coors.
So Lou, beer that you first started making that was your favorite and your favorite now.
The first one that I made. The first beer that I homebrewed was essentially it was a clone of a Bass Ale, and my dad is a huge fan of Bass Ale. I'm still a huge fan of Bass Ale, but the first one that I brewed that I was proud of, that I really like, I did something with it beyond just following someone else's recipe, was basically a variation of going back to that English ale kind of thing, was going for something similar to a Watney's milk stout or a sweet stout. I'm a big stout head, and the first time I did that and it came out, it was perfect. It was like right in the middle of the wintertime. We're talking about being outdoors. I was living in this place out in Monroe, had this great bunch of property. I was able to
Monroe, Connecticut. For all listeners out there, it's Connecticut.
So we had this great, bunch of property. I had like a bunch of cows next door. I had this little pond in the backyard. I was able to put the homebrew log out in the snow and all that stuff. Walked out my back door, just pour myself this homebrew, and I was psyched. It was awesome. That was the first one that I was really, really, really psyched to drink that I made.
Oh, yeah.
The one outside of what I made, like as far as mass production stuff, the one that really turned me on to craft beer was Stone Brewing's their Stone Smoke Porter.
Okay.
That's the one. And it's still kind of a go-to beer for me. Like I will still, if I see Stone Smoke Porter, I will still buy it.
Awesome.
Hands down.
How about your Shebeen one, though? Is that the one with you on the face on the can of it? Or is it the Hadouken? Hadouken?
Yo, the infamous, it's turned into, believe it or not,
it's turning into a thing.
It is definitely Hadouken. So.
Well, a lot of people have been calling it the D-Rock lately. And
awesome.
I always give you the credit. Because,
dude, take the credit. That way people will stop asking me to sign their
we got
hands.
matching ponytails here. So
exactly. Well, mine's more fluffy.
He's got curly hair.
Mine's more fluffy.
Yeah, so when we first saw it, I was like, "Oh, is this a D-Rock beer?"
Yeah. We could definitely do that because I get weirded out. Like I've already had people like ask me for like weird selfies and stuff like that. Like
that's awesome.
That's cool. What do you mean by weird selfies? Are you like posing next to a dead deer with a tutu, or
not that weird? But,
okay. Is it a clown coming out of the woods with a knife? Because I've seen that on Facebook recently. You know what I mean?
Hold on, D-Rock. I gotta get my notepad here because you're actually giving me some really good ideas. So I gotta write this down.
Mark that shit down.
If you haven't seen the cans, the creativity that goes into it. So I'm afraid of what's going to come out next
Well,
on one of the labels.
You realize this is me.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You see the funky hairstyle?
I do. I see it. Wow.
I'm gonna crack this one for you here, Rich.
Shebeen.
Yeah, my old assistant brewer, who's now living in Texas, actually named our alpaca Enrique. So Enrique the alpaca,
With an 80s
Spanish for
hairstyle,
Rich?
by the way. It's a flock of seagulls hairstyle on it
Yeah,
as well. So,
I like it.
So
I'm going to need a selfie before I leave with that, Rich.
So, Trev and Ryan, you have any questions for the beer masters to the hunting world? Just actually, before we get to that, for all our listeners, you guys do realize these guys are the only, Shebeen Brewing is the only beer sponsor in the hunting industry to date. There is not.
Why is that?
Because people want to be ethical. But there's nothing saying that you can be unethical after the harvest.
Well, that's sort of my question. Why can't you be an ethical hunter?
Well, that's a good question, and the reason for that is beer in correlation to ethical hunter is kind of like oxymoron. Oxy being me, moron maybe being Ryan. I don't know.
Well, you know what? In other states, it is okay to drink while you hunt. In other states, down south Texas, I know you can. Texas, I know a lot of those guys.
Speaking to that mic there.
I'm speaking right into it. Me and Trevor,
there we go.
Trevor and I are sharing.
I know. I
mics
just don't
here.
want to kiss him.
But down in Texas, that is okay. You know, a lot of the guys will go out duck hunting and they'll have a 30 rack with them and their buddies drink it. And now, firearms and booze never mix, but in certain states, it is okay to do.
But do you do that?
No, absolutely
Hell
not.
No.
Absolutely
Hell
not.
No.
Absolutely not. But
There's a lot of guys that I've hunted with that are from different parts of the country that actually drink beer in the duck blind. Like, that's a normal thing.
Really?
But we don't do it here in Connecticut. It's not safe, first off.
Well, that's the number one thing that we promote is safety all the way around, and we promote ethical hunting. And the reason you asked that, I really commend you because this is actually something that's in correlation that can contradict each other because we love beer. Every hunter loves beer just about. Obviously, the ones that don't drink, they don't, but that's what weed is for. And
Wait, there are actually hunters that don't drink beer?
There is. You'd
There's
be
a few,
surprised who
yeah.
is a hunter, Rich.
There's a
You'd be
few.
surprised who is a hunter.
Oh, no, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, you'd be surprised what I like to do for hobbies and stuff.
Elaborate.
So what are your
we're
hobbies?
going to get weird.
do we want to know, Rich?
No, I want to know.
Elaborate.
Well, I'm a major kayaker, so
Outdoorsman, as
right,
it is.
exactly. I actually kayak and we'll camp, and the fun part about doing those kayak camping type trips is you can only camp with what you can fit on your kayak. Now, think about that for a minute. There's not a whole hell of a lot. Half of it is full of beer.
Yes.
And then the other half is your camping gear. So
a case of Banquet.
If it's not Shebeen, yeah.
Well, no, yeah, exactly. It might
That
just
Yum
be
Yum's been in your backpack lately.
You never know how many underfills have been in that kayak.
There's been a lot that has actually made it out to there.
So then, Rich, your camping gear actually is very minimal because you have to fit a lot of beer, right?
Very much so. And having now done this for, I think, 10, 12 years in a row with a couple of my friends that I've known since like 1980, we'll go down the Connecticut rivers, go down to Saco, we'll go to Lake Champlain, we'll do all these type of things. We've learned to efficiently only bring in what we need, be able to consume what we're actually going to consume. And then the most amazing thing is the fact that I've never had better meals in my life. And everything gets packed into a teeny tiny kayak, and that's
awesome.
it. So, and also the best sleep of the night is actually on a hammock as well, too.
Oh, yeah.
As well, too.
Absolutely.
So, I don't think people realize that as well. It's just like,
You're right.
It's better than a bed any day.
You can cocoon yourself in, and you don't even get any bug bites.
Yeah, and it could be like 20 degrees out, and it doesn't matter. The only thing that's exposed is your nose and a little bit of breathing.
Dude, that was
everything
a Christmas
gets
gift
cocooned
this
up.
year.
Yeah.
My wife hooked me up with a new hammock this year for Christmas.
Yeah. Nice.
That's a good wife.
Wait for that.
That's a
good
life
wife.
changer.
Yeah, dude.
And make sure to put your food up in a tray in case
She's
a bear
a
comes after
keeper.
you as well, too. So.
Yeah, that's a huge thing now.
Yeah.
So my biggest question is, when is the new Shebeen Whitetail Pale Ale coming out?
Ooh.
When are we going to see that? I've been waiting.
Whitetail Pale Ale.
I like
I'll
that.
tell you what. when you and I sit down and come up with that recipe, that's what it's coming out.
Whoa! Little slivers of backstrap in the mix.
We've done crazier around here.
We could dehydrate it.
I see the
put
wheels.
It in like jerky.
Smoke's just
We have a
pouring
jerky
off
maker right here, so we can dehydrate stuff, everything here. So
Hey, I actually have some. I snapped last night some deer ribs in the slow cooker, so we can make that happen.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
ready to go.
We could do that up.
I got like the wheels are turning, the smoke's coming. Rich, I can see
there's
it.
smoke coming everywhere
it's
right now.
It's crazy.
I'm about to grab your notepad right now and start writing. So, end of the podcast, we're going to have the recipe and the game plan. So, yes.
There you go.
We could do that up in no time, man.
But on that note, actually, what I wanted to ask you guys, since we're on that, is what is your most memorable moment outdoors? I want to start with Lou. Most memorable moment outdoors.
Most memorable moment outdoors.
And speak right into that mic if you
Jeez. This really wonderful native lady worked with me a long time ago.
Native, like Indian? Native
Yeah,
American?
she was.
Or-
She's since passed.
God rest her soul.
She was half Blackfoot, half Cherokee.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, we all know it as Latinos. We all know how, like, even though we're like so close to each other in proximity, very oftentimes there's a lot of like weird prejudices against just country to country and all that stuff.
But we're all Indians at the end of the day.
Same goes with a lot of the native folks, you know. So at the time, the fact that she was half and half kind of thing, this mixed race, so to speak, didn't sit well with some of her family. But she was really, really great in helping me, kind of find some of my native heritage and stuff like that. Basically, brought me into the woods, handed me my knife that I still carry with me today, and said, "I'll see you in 10 days."
So you had, what, a backpack?
No.
A knife? Not
No.
even a backpack.
It was that knife. That knife.
We're throwing out blades now.
I'll see
Yeah,
you.
the Latinos are throwing out blades.
Dude,
yeah.
Everybody step back.
Hey,
Step
switchblade
back.
as well, too.
it was-
I don't even know where he got that from.
Dude, it was really, it was, here you go, here's your knife.
Blades on the table.
I'll see you in 10 days, you know? And I was like,
Oh, shit. Everybody's got the blades out. Hold on.
I guess it's my turn.
The Irishman's got the blades.
Yeah, we got one?
I got a good story with that one. No, I was trying I went to a state capitol, and I was trying to go through the checkpoints, and I forgot I had my brewer's blade with me in the pocket, and it was confiscated.
Whoops.
Oh, yeah.
That's
so,
a big no-no.
Yeah, I did not realize I had
did
that one.
in
so,
Germany by accident. I had to mail it back to myself.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I had to actually mail my knife back to myself. I forgot. It was
At least you got yours back. It doesn't sound like Rich did.
No, I got it back. They made me go through another line, take it out, and I had to go back to my car. It was like a half an hour away. I had to walk back. I'll drop in the thing, but anyhow, I made
Half
it
an
in.
hour,
So,
damn.
Yeah, it's Hartford, man.
Yeah,
You can't park in the state capitol. You
Yeah,
got to
you're
park
right.
like a mile away. So
Unless you're
yeah.
Mexican.
You're
then
never
they
getting
make,
them
then
back.
they make you mail it back to yourself.
Do I look Mexican?
No. The Mexican ditches it in the local plant right in the airport.
I could pull off a lot of things, but Mexican is definitely not it.
Definitely not one of them. Yeah.
That's fine. So let's get back to your story, Lou. I'm very
Yeah,
curious.
so,
you were left alone with a knife.
Yeah.
No backpack.
No, nothing.
Just
nothing.
survived
It
10
was
days.
it was my knife. That was it.
I wanna hear this
and
story.
The clothes on my back, and she said, "I'll see you in 10 days. Meet me back here in 10 days."
No lighter, nothing.
Nothing.
Wow.
No. It was out I go. Like, she had taught me. Thankfully, she had taught me a bunch of stuff over time, and off I went. And I want to say it was around day 4, maybe.
Did you eat anything by then?
Well, like up until that point, like I knew how to make my own fire and all this stuff. Thankfully, and I was able to do that. So basically, I was.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit, though?
I was basically kind of living on spruce tea.
Okay.
You know, for about 3 to 4 days, I think, because I was.
So you're boiling the water up in order to drink it. Yeah,
just boiling,
So-
just getting near water. I knew enough to get near water, process the water
Right.
to make sure I was, I wasn't taking any
How'd you
weird
build the
protozoa.
fire,
The initial time, I did it with just a basic bow drill.
Oh, okay.
That's
fucking hardcore.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It takes some practice. No, it really does take some practice, and you should practice it.
It's not easy at all. I've
no,
done this with the Boy Scouts.
It
and
takes a
holy
while.
Crap, and
it takes a
these
while.
Are trained kids, and they can't even do it as well.
It's tricky, But doing the bow drill and being able to be, thankfully I was around, in enough territory where there was some, relatively dry pine needles and stuff like that, which will take a flame much easier. So I was able to use a bow drill. I started the fire.
What part of the country was this at?
White Mountains. I'm not exactly sure if I was.
So you grabbed a bunch of birch as well, too. So,
white birch bark.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
Just remember that's exactly what we do as well.
I'm not sure if it was New York, Vermont, etc. That whole line. I'm not exactly sure because again, she basically dropped me off and said, "I'll see you in 10 days. Bye."
Sounds like a vacation to me.
Does to me as well, too,
but when you're like
with the right
like
tools,
19 and you
with
don't
the
know
right
anything,
tools, yeah.
Yeah.
In all honesty, it sounds like a typical Latino mother.
Yeah.
I'm jumping off here. I'll see you later.
I see you later, okay? Goodbye. Yeah.
Then mommy, no!
You'll come back as a millionaire. It's all good.
Yeah, so she, and I want to say like I'm guessing day 4-ish. And I'm guessing because I was really hungry. I caught a rabbit in a figure 4 trap.
Oh, no
figure
shit.
4, yeah. It was like
Dude,
old
that's
school.
hardcore.
That is wicked hardcore, man.
Yeah, it was like old school. Like reading books and stuff like that. Didn't think it would work by any stretch of the imagination, and I set a whole bunch of traps in the area that I was.
And that's day 4, right?
Poof, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 3, maybe it was 5. I don't know.
You were hungry, though.
I was hungry.
So when the zombie apocalypse comes, I'm coming to Shebeen.
And I'll tell you what, that rabbit that I caught, processed, and ate was, to this day, the best meal I have ever eaten in my damn life.
I bet.
Well, going back
No
to the
doubt about
apocalypse,
it.
that's a really good point, though, because when it all comes down, we're going to need people at respective roles and responsibilities, and you're going to need people to make your beer.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, right? It's going to get down to a barter system. So you need somebody to hunt for you. You need somebody to do the agricultural part. We'll make the beer for you.
Yep, but this time we're going to give Lou some weapons.
You give me weapons, and it's a whole different ballgame.
That's awesome. So, Rich, your most memorable outdoor moment?
Well, mine's not as fun as this, but I actually saw Jesus. So,
Whoa. Wait. Was it a Latino Puerto Rican called Jesus, or was it like an archangel coming from the sky?
Okay, I'll take it back to the original part of the story.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to finish with the conclusion, the fact that I saw Jesus, and I'm done. So it's like,
okay.
So my wife and I actually did our honeymoon in Hawaii. So we went to Maui, and we went to the road to Hana, and we did the 7 sacred pools at the end of that thing.
Yeah, the hard life.
Right, exactly. So, the hard life. It's called the honeymoon. So we're walking through this papaya field, and it was just absolutely the most amazing thing. My wife and I are just walking. We're going to see these pools. We'd driven all day. We did some snorkeling earlier in the day. And we walked past this gentleman that was barefoot, long hair, looked like typical Norwegian Jesus, blonde, brown hair, blue eyes, just walked past us nice and peacefully, said hi to us, and we just kept moving on. We didn't say anything for 10 minutes later, and we looked at each other. Was that Jesus? And the answer was yes. That man looked exactly like Jesus.
Hey, Caddy Cowboy wants to know what Jesus was drinking when you saw him.
Well, he had nothing. He wasn't drinking anything, and so
really,
yeah, he was just
he
peacefully
really
walking
was
through
Jesus.
the. But it was so peaceful because we were literally walking on papaya, and it was like a dream, and yet it was real. And the funny part is, we didn't say anything to each other for 10 minutes, and afterwards we looked at each other. That was definitely Jesus. So.
That was definitely Jesus.
Was he in robes? Like
yes.
No kidding.
He had a walking cane, and he was in robes. He was barefoot, and he
Thorn crown, everything.
No thorn crown. So
I was like palm leaves.
But he was
Maybe
definitely some
Hawaiian
hippie
flowers.
of some sort. So I don't know
Yeah.
if he was high and wandering around the
And
fields. I don't know. So.
If you want to be really, really extra special, you can catch him now on Broadway.
Yeah, I bet. So, Rich, now that we're back to you, is
no more Jesus questions.
no.
I got a
We're
question.
off that.
No, real quick.
Religion is not a good subject here.
One question: did he have a beard?
Yes.
One,
I'm not kidding you.
That was
Literally,
him.
If
That
you
was
were
him.
if you were going to paint him, he looked exactly like those paintings. So it was insane.
Like the white Jesus.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like the Norwegian Jesus that never existed in the Middle East. But that's a whole other thing. So,
Man.
go on.
The Norwegian Jesus.
I got a question for you. How is your beer connected to East Coast?
Damn. He just dropped the ball. He just dropped the ball, Rich. What do you got?
Well, I mean, the one thing that I think everybody doesn't understand about breweries, everything's centered around water. And we are a brewery in Wolcott, and we get our water from Waterbury, which Waterbury has one of the best water sources in the state of Connecticut.
Ironically called the dirty water.
Yeah. but the water is actually literally coming from Wolcott and then going and processed and then going through Waterbury and then coming back to us because half of our building is in Waterbury, half of it is in Wolcott. And so when you talk about us being what we are and where we are, it's all about the water. And we are Wolcott Waterbury, and that is why it's so important, and that's what makes a beer. Water makes a beer, and it makes a brewery. So,
to give you guys an idea out there, not here, I think I am sitting in Waterbury, and Rich is sitting in Wolcott.
that could be
not joking.
We're like
we're not kidding. No,
literally
he's not joking.
next to each other.
He's not joking.
That's crazy.
It is very possible. I'm not exactly sure where the line goes because it's diagonal.
It is diagonal, yeah.
From where we are right now. It is entirely, literally possible that I am in Waterbury and Rich, who's directly to my left, might be in Wolcott.
I did notice that when we showed up. The sign is right here in
It's
front. The
it's
line is right here, yeah.
there. Yeah,
Technically,
it's weird.
I mean, your address isn't it?
It's one Wolcott Road. Yeah, it's one Wolcott Road. We are the first
number
thing in
one.
Wolcott.
Yes,
Yeah,
number one.
Road. Yeah.
yeah.
That's fucking awesome. I love it. So, what sets your beer apart from the rest? Why should we drink Shebeen?
Well, the one thing is we are definitely not afraid to try stuff here. If you want to experiment, if you want to, and diversity is actually the other big thing as well too. It's been a big thing in my background, my family, where I've grown up and where I've lived. I've lived in California and Hawaii. I've grown up also on the East Coast as well too. So we pride ourselves in actually having diversity here, and our beers are diverse as well too. So one beer could be a dessert beer, and the next one could be a New England IPA. And the next thing could be one of my crazy ass experiments with a German cerveza or cucumber wasabi or
the Pils.
or
The Pilsner was big.
or traditional European style lager as well too. So
As a matter of fact, Casey, if you could hear me, I need another driven. I'm sorry.
that's the awesome thing about doing a podcast in a brewery. You can put an order in through the loudspeaker system.
Oh my
and you can
god,
actually
that's
get a
the
beer
best.
delivered.
Casey, I'm sorry. Can you make that happen, please? Por favor, mami.
Driven.
Una cervecita.
My man needs a driven.
Driven. Yeah, thank you.
We got a thumbs up. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And for our listeners, we're through the PA system in the brewery right now, so
Yep.
it's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
pretty
like
awesome.
a little, like a drive-through. We're ordering.
Speaking of, we had a couple of guests come down and visit us. Our buddy Paul McCain.
Speak into that mic. Try.
Caddy Cowboys here. My whole family's here.
Yeah, we got East Connecticut repping. Beautiful ladies in the background. Look at that. Look, she's
just
smiling,
gonna say,
laughing.
Can we give
one bob in
an
their
extra
head?
shout
Give
out
the
to
peace
Casey
sign.
that
Hell
is
yeah!
hooking us up with beer and
Absolutely.
booze all
And
over. Like
we had
she's-
another-
Well, you know what, D-Rock, I want to point out the first person here tonight besides Trevor and myself showing up was actually a listener that we have never met, has never been to Shebeen, lives up the road. His name is Mike. I'm not sure if Mike is still here, but he was the first person to show up.
Really?
And,
He's
he was
a listener
a
that-
listener of ours
he's a
and
listener.
just
Never
lived
been
down
here.
the road,
Never
never
been
been
here.
here, and he's come to see us both, drink
Wow,
the beer
that's
and listen
awesome.
to us. So.
A couple other. I had another friend who's not a hunter but lives in the area also, and saw it on my Facebook and came down and they live right down the road.
No
they have a
kidding.
gift certificate here, so they're like, "Well, we'll go down there when the podcast is there."
That's
So they came
outstanding.
and checked us out.
Well,
That's outstanding.
bringing out that point as well too. I don't think people realize it, but we're distributed in other states as well too. So if you're a hunter in Massachusetts, we're distributed there.
Yeah.
If you're in New Jersey, Jersey,
We're in
which
Jersey,
is a phenomenal state, by the way. I don't think people realize the fact that you can go hunting there. There's a lot of open.
Jersey's big.
Jersey's a great state, and you can actually go hunting there as well too.
Bear though, the black bear, they shut it down for a second.
It'll
In
come
Jersey?
back.
It'll come back.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a whole other episode, actually.
On that,
Yeah, I guess
is there a way of getting them to other states? Because we have people in the Midwest that are just like
Yo,
dying
Trev,
for.
what has your Mexican been doing on the DL?
My boy has been shipping that stuff everywhere. He's like the
I'm not
Mexican exporter. So we have all of our listeners,
I love
like
the USA.
the Modern Assassin, and pretty much all of our guests. They always end up with a
Working class
4-pack.
bow hunter.
Working class, Kurt.
We got to shout out Eric Clark to Where to Hunt.
Yeah,
out in Wisconsin.
The Northeastern boys. I mean, they all love Shebeen. We send them Shebeen like it's going out of style.
Awesome.
All right, yeah.
We're in the Panhandle of Florida as well too. The only negative is we're definitely not out the Midwest yet, but we have something in the Mid-Atlantic in progress right now. Shout out to Andy that's sitting in the corner looking at us. He just came back from a road trip, so we are trying to get it throughout the rest of the country, but. The best way to get it is know your local deer hunter, bow hunter, and have him ship out some to you. So
or talk to your local distributor and have them contact Richard Visco at ShebeenBrewing.com.
And if he can't do it underground with D-Rock.
Your local Mexican.
So, okay, we got that out of the way. And Caddy Cowboy's been great tonight, giving us the eraser board through.
I want to know who gave him the paper because he's had how many notes?
He is outstanding with that stuff.
10 different notes passed
that
us.
dude is better than a mascot.
Hey, I'm telling you.
He's our number one fan.
No.
And he's
not fan. Not supporter.
He's
definitely
a supporter.
Fan
No
is
question.
douchey. Supporter number one for sure.
He is definitely a big
he's the
supporter.
one that
He's our Dennis, right?
Yeah. No. He's a lot prettier. I'm telling you.
Oh, Dennis, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Here we go again.
Like I said when I was sober before starting this episode, I said I'd do him. I'd probably do him. You know?
He's listening.
That one. Sandra knows about this, by the way?
Probably.
Okay.
But his garage is littered in Shebeen. And that brings me to my next question, is what efforts are you doing to make this environmentally friendly for the sake of conservation?
That's a really good question, actually, because
Thank you.
us as a brewery, the thing that we came out of the gate with is a lot of breweries start out doing bottles, and actually bottles are not better for the environment. Aluminum cans are actually better because they produce less waste and they're fully 100% recyclable. But so is glass. The differences between aluminum and glass is the fact that it takes net less energy to recycle aluminum than it does glass. So when you're actually drinking an aluminum can and recycling that, you are actually able to do that with less energy, less cost, and you're continually reusing them. So,
and being Mexican, you can make a nickel per can.
Oh, if you go to Michigan, you make 10 cents a can. So
I'm not the only one recycling.
Hey, look, if you're from
hands up,
Bridgeport,
who's recycling? If you get $5 a can.
Dude, if you're from Bridgeport, you can make yourself a bowl out of a can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We've
all been there, done that, brother.
The funniest part is I finally realized it, and that shows you how disconnected I am at times. I didn't realize where the blueberry Yum Yum came from as a name, and it took me a while to figure out Puffin Pass as well too. So.
Yeah, Alyssa, where you at?
We all love that, right, Alyssa?
I'm like,
I definitely
you guys pulled that on me. So.
Yeah, between Puffin and blueberry Yum Yum and cranberry Yum Yum, we got a lot of references.
It's funny because Rich never knew when he was feeling really good that night.
Yeah,
that's
come again.
I
still doesn't know.
Secondhand smoke could be a godsend. That's all I'm saying. Oh man, that's really great that you're for conservation. And
well, it actually was a legitimate reason why we did the aluminum cans to start out with. It wasn't just because that was the trend. We were actually way ahead of the trend. And we didn't know it until we saw it now because we started out 12 ounces and then eventually went to 16s. But believe it or not, it was actually for the fact that aluminum is better for the environment than glass is.
Very cool. Awesome.
Without a doubt. So that brings me to my next question. Have you guys signed up for your next bow hunter class in the state CTBEP?
I have not.
They
I
fill
need
up
to.
quick, guys.
I
They fill up
need.
quick.
I need to do that. Like,
Well, hopefully we know somebody, though, here.
I'll tell you what. There's like.
I actually help out with the classes, so.
Like I know that there's a lot of folks out there that are like into like pistol permits and all that other stuff, and that's all well and good. But I would personally rather bow hunting. I think.
Why is that though?
I think the idea of number one of needing to get closer to your target.
It's a more intimate.
It's more intimate. It's more honest.
Ooh,
For lack of a better term, but there's something more organic about it, and I'm all about that. Like I wanna do it, but I want to do it right.
Absolutely, it's primal. It's sticking a string. It's what our ancestors did.
Yeah.
Actually, Ryan, elaborate on that though. Being a bow hunter, because you do it all as well.
Of course.
And out of you, Trevor, and I mean, between you and Trevor, you're really more experienced than I am as far as it comes to gun hunting. Bow hunting, I've been bow hunting all my life, but I feel, my opinion, you're probably the most experienced out of the three. Elaborate why bow hunting.
Well, of course, like we talked about in previous episodes, Trevor and I, we do our, our duck hunting, our goose hunting, our turkey hunting, and we love to use shotguns for that because unfortunately in the state of Connecticut, you can't even shoot waterfowl with a bow.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't?
You cannot. No. So it's one thing to pull a trigger and...
Wait. As in it's illegal to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Why?
It's also Connecticut as well.
Is there a reason?
It's
like,
Connecticut. It's Connecticut.
I don't think that it's illegal, but I think that it's just kind of like an area where
it
it's
is
not
illegal,
talked
actually.
about. Is it
It
really?
It is.
Yeah.
So, to pull a trigger of a gun and the animal just falls out of the sky, if you're shooting ducks and you keep shooting them.
Yeah.
But it's one thing when you're in a stand and you have a deer below you and you've got a stick that is on the string of your bow, then you're about to release into it's just a different feeling. You're connected with that arrow, connected with that string, connected with that bow. And when you release it into that large animal, the deer or whatever you may be releasing it at, you just have that connection with the animal. It's we've shot so many ducks and birds and turkeys, whatever it may be, and you don't get that same feeling from when you do it with archery. Your primal instincts kick in. You have to have your wind right, your sound. You can't even. We talked about in one of our last episodes. We squint our eyes. You don't make eye contact with the deer, with the animal.
Modern assassins
they
shout
see
out.
that. Modern assassins shout out. They see that. So everything has to come together. All your instincts have to come together to make that shot just right. So it's just so much more that goes into it.
That's exactly why I've talked to you, D, about this sort of stuff. Like, and again, this is coming from somebody who's an animal lover.
Vet tech.
Veterinary technician. You
heal animals.
I spent a good portion of my life, healing critters that have been injured, but at the same time also respecting the idea of, and especially in that situation, like I was telling you about, like being out on my own and all that stuff, when you have to take a life from nature in order for yours to continue, there is a different sort of respect that you have for nature itself.
Amen.
Yep.
Word.
And
that's the truth, and I think that's where hunting gets lost. Is exactly in the words that you're saying. Is because they think that they're like barbaric heroes and just killing and killing, and it's not that. It's survival. It's what our ancestors did.
I'm not talking about like killing something because I want its tooth and I want to throw the rest of it away. I'm not talking that. I'm talking about taking a life out of nature because you are going to consume it. You and your family are going to consume it. You're gonna continue because that thing did not.
It's the food chain. We're on top of the food chain. We have to survive.
Yeah, and there's a wonderful relationship with nature, with hunters, that is lost on most of us, myself included, that is not hunted other than that one time, really. So there is something that is lost when you can just go to Stop and Shop and pick yourself up some ribs, as opposed to taking the ribs on your own. And the idea that someone is saying that you can't do it in this method or the other is just kind of insane.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Oh, he's got something on his phone here.
Yeah,
Hold on.
watch out.
Well, I don't know what D-Rod is doing over there.
Whoa. Nope.
I was waiting for the rambling. Hey, D-Rock, I was waiting for the rambling man to come out on that.
Whoa, what is that?
What is that?
Ninja tip of the day.
Oh.
Lou, what you got?
Whoa.
Ninja tip of the day.
Yeah. Since we're talking about it,
Yeah.
let's hear it. Ninja tip of the day.
As we're talking about, if you're on your own.
Any good advice that you would give anyone out there being in the woods by themselves? Ninja tip of the day.
Really, really simple fact. Then again, coming from somebody that has been in really bizarre situations as far as being on their own in the woods, and also being from somebody who has been a student and a teacher of martial arts for most of my life. Small motor skills are really important.
Very good tip.
Right?
I like that. Can you elaborate a little bit
So,
more on that?
small motor skills being, like you see a scary movie and you see, the lady running from the mass murderer guy and she can't get the key into the door of the car, and everybody in the movie theater is going, "That's stupid. How could she not get the key into the car?" Well, that's a real situation. When you're scared, when you're cold, when you're tired, all of those things combined, your small motor skills go away.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
That's a great...
They go away.
They do.
Well, I got a question for you guys, because on that point is, like, when you've seen your target and you know you're hunting something, does it change for you? Are you in the same place where you were when nothing was happening, and then all of a sudden you see something, and then something crosses your way?
And that's so funny that you ask that, is because that is something that's what drives us to do what we do every single day, is the adrenaline. It's an adrenaline of something that you couldn't even... It's the equivalent to going 200 miles an hour down the road. I mean, the adrenaline...
It's close.
But
it's coming from the Mexican that got a couple different boots.
Yeah. But that you're exactly right at that, is that the adrenaline changes. And with the tip of the motor skills, those are things you have to practice. So a lot of times, a lot of people, when practicing shooting, so on and so forth, they'll run around, get their heart rate up, and practice those motor skills. It's the same as you. If something was to happen in a kayak or something like that, your adrenaline gets going, and now it's survival. And that's what we thrive for, is that adrenaline.
So you guys actively practice that then? So
all the time.
So you're getting your heart rate up. You're expecting the fact that you're seeing something that's unexpected at that point in time, and then you're going to try to shoot with that adrenaline being up or agitated or whatever it is.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. And there's people out there that don't practice that, and a lot of the times they fail. Yeah. And that is definitely something that you do. You practice from from up in a tree stand. You run, you jog, you do all kinds of stuff just to get that adrenaline up to make it there.
Hell yeah. And that's a perfect transition, Trev. You're the man. Richard Visco, you made it to this moment in time. What rattles your antlers?
Well, being an avid kayaker and camper, I hate it when people leave garbage behind wherever they go. If you are going out hunting, if you're going out camping, if you bring it in, you pack it out. Pack it in, pack it out. It's on every one of our cans, and we say the same thing. It's like, we go out there and we drink as well. We drink responsibly. We camp responsibly as well. If you bring garbage in, you take that garbage home and you get rid of it properly. So
I never even noticed that. I'm just looking now. Pack it in, pack it out.
Pack it in, pack it out.
Right on the can, yeah?
All day, dude. All day.
Right on the can.
That's awesome. Talk about conservation.
Yeah. You'll find it right on the Shebeen can. It doesn't get any better than that. Man, this has been an awesome episode. A lot of talking beer and talking deer. I don't know if it could get any better than this.
No, we got to continue this sometime.
Are we doing this again?
Yeah, we definitely have
Next
to do
week,
this again.
maybe?
Yeah, without
And
a
then
doubt.
next week, and then next week.
So on that note, actually, I think we should close it out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Where we go?
honestly, I want to start drinking a little heavy.
Okay.
And call it a good night.
Well, see, I don't know. The Mexican didn't keep up with the wee drama whiskey, the Uscabe that was actually put in front of him. He still got it there, you know. So,
The
He
Irishman
just
is talking
called
shit
out
now.
the
I just
The
slagged you
Irishman
there,
is talking
Big Lick.
shit now, D.
¿Sabe lo que pasó? De que
Oh,
vio todo
shit.
el-
No, you don't say
Oh,
that like
Here
that.
we go.
¿Sabe lo que pasó?
Yeah, it's time to close up shop. Things just got rough.
So on that note, hey, Richard Visco, stay stepping and stay slaying.
Disconnect.